looking back, are there any thoughts or feelings you had during your experience with postpartum depression that you now see differently? And how has that changed your perspective on motherhood or mental health?
I think the whole experience, to be honest. Like, I think that I had what I would describe as a mild level of depression and anxiety. Like, I never took medications. I was able to manage it. Mm-hmm. And I still don't take medications, but the level that I need of things that I need to do to manage it compared to in the past, wow.
Yeah,
like, I think that in itself is just a lot. Like, finding that new norm and like putting in that extra work and finding what works for you. And like you said, when you need a minute, it's like, how could I even think about finding that time for myself? So just making it a priority in whatever way that you need. Like you said, closing the door and making sure the room is safe, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Like, sometimes you just have to do, like they say, like, if the kid is crying, you feel like you're gonna shake them, put them in the crib, close the, like, those things to just deep breathing exercises. He's big into deep breathing exercises, and I started doing them more, and they are so helpful. Even if it's just for 5 minutes, it could be such, it could make such a difference.
You're right. I agree with that. Okay, so Jamal, I'm sorry, what was the question?
Looking back, are there any thoughts or feelings you had during your experience with postpartum depression that you now see differently? And how has that changed your perspective on motherhood or mental health?
Oh, listen, my experience during my first pregnancy and my second pregnancy were like night and day. So I definitely feel like with my daughter that I was able to see that, okay, I feel like that was God's way of like blessing me with like a full circle moment to be able to recognize that not every experience is the same. Today doesn't have to be the same as tomorrow. And I feel like that's just something that I take with me throughout my day-to-day life even now, in terms of just maintaining good mental health, right? Is just understanding that you can only do the best that you can do with what you have right now, right? And if you do that, you give yourself grace, right? You ask for help when you need help, right? And you try to find that balance, whatever that may look like for you, right? It can be better. That I think is the biggest thing, because when I experienced postpartum depression, there was times where I felt so hopeless. Like, you couldn't even tell me that it was gonna get better. It was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But to go through another pregnancy and understand that, okay, it did get better. I'm not having that experience. And I think that's another thing too. For some women that have a child and go through postpartum in their first pregnancy, it can be very scary to, go back through that again, because it is traumatic when you really think about it. So to be able to see that it doesn't have to be that way, I think that's a good thing everybody should know.
I love that. And I like that you talked about giving grace, because I think that I can now give grace to so many people. Like, we talk all the time about this main character syndrome, right? Where when something happens, you're only thinking about like the effect on you, or this person's being rude, or this, that. And like, now that I've experienced this level of anxiety and depression, I feel like I understand now, like, sometimes people are literally just going through the motions and it has nothing to do with you. And I practice giving grace so much more, and really like trying to look at the bigger picture before I react, or look at like what's going on the outside. Like, I would say when you don't have kids, like, you have all these opinions and what you think you're gonna do and what someone's doing wrong. Like, I have no more of those. Like, I can't tell your story. I don't know what you go through. I don't know what you're struggling with. I try my hardest to just not even judge, like, compared to what I would do when I didn't have a kid and didn't know what it felt like,
I love that. I love that. And I think that's so important. It just makes you a better human. It just, and that creates a better experience for you, right? And everyone else that encounters you, because I feel like you're now empowered, right, to make a difference in another person's life, because you may experience, and I'm sure as a labor and delivery nurse, you encounter women at their most vulnerable part of their journey, right? When that reality check, now the baby is here, or that fine line between being pregnant and now you're officially a mother.
Right.
And it's a tough place to be sometimes. And I think by you having the experience that you have, it gives you insight, right? To be a better nurse, of course, right? But to be that motivator, that encourager, that listening ear that a lot of women need, and I think that that is an amazing thing for sure.
And I think for starters, people need to know that there is a fourth trimester, which is birth to 3 months. Because
Right.
even having that knowledge,
Mhm.
I feel like if you know you're struggling within those first 3 months, whoo, like, so even to know that piece of information is like, I feel like it would make someone feel better about what they're going through to see how common it is.
Yeah, for sure. I think information is key for sure, because once you have knowledge, you have power, right? You have, it puts things into context, right? I think that, like, when someone doesn't know something, that ignorance, it can be, or even the naiveness, that can be, it can be scary, because you don't know what to expect, you don't know what to do, you don't know any of that. And I think just by having that information, not only does it make you feel like you are more relatable because others are going through it, but now you're also empowered with what to look for, right? Now you can go and find the answers that you need. Now you have more clarity in the kind of support that you may need going forward. So yeah, I agree with that for sure.
Me too.